Hey guys, Spartan here. Welcome to a tier list video. This is going to be a tier list going over the new stuff they added in Survivors of the Void, Risk of Rain 2, blah blah blah. This is subjective, but I like to consider myself very well informed about the power level of items and their application. So let's go. Only going to be covering the new items. So let's start with Mocha. Mocha is 7.5 extra attack speed and 7 move speed. It's basically half a soldier syringe combined with half a goat's hoof. It's B tier. It is fine. It is very applicable. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this item. I'd say Soldier Syringe is about A tier, and Goat Hoof is around B tier, mostly because, you know, there are other forms of movement. So Mocha, it just fits a nice in-between of those two. I could have done these retroactively, but I'm not going to. Delicate Watch. Delicate Watch is actually pretty good. I'd say it's a B tier item. This is because it does affect all damage, not just, like, only physical damage, and it's... Okay, compared to Crowbar, Crowbar is, like, almost triple... Actually, it's a bit better than triple. It's almost quadruple the power level, but only works within a threshold. But Delicate Watch just always works. It's pretty decent. I'm stumbling over my own words here because I haven't scripted this because I do these on the fly. But yeah, it's alright, and... if you have any power elixirs and you drop below 25%, they will be consumed and you will not lose this unless you had, you know, no elixirs or anything like that. Same kind of... it's like the reverse of Old War Stealth Kit, because that works like that as well. Coyne, aka Roll of Pennies. This is actually an A tier item. This may not actually do anything useful in a fight, but it does the most important thing in the game. Scaling. It helps you scale very fast by taking damage, and therefore being able to buy items and get through stages quickly. Most of the time in your runs, especially if you're playing as a fast character, the biggest issue you have is that you're not going to be able to purchase all the items that you can quickly get to. Say, let's say you're running Loader, for instance. You can swing through the level and touch every little box in the stage, every crate, every chest, every tri-shop terminal, in about a minute. But you're not going to be able to have all the money to buy all that unless you have something to grant you money, aka Gore's Tome, or this. Or, I don't know, Defiant Gouge to spawn a bunch of golems or some shit. So yeah, being able to get a lot of money really quickly, especially off Blazing Elites, which hit you rapidly, because it doesn't matter how much damage you take, it's just that you take damage. So yeah, Coyne, very good. Oh, by the way, why I call it Coyne is it has "In Paul We Trust" on the image of the thing. Take a look at it in the item viewer in-game. Power Elixir. Power Elixir is B. I wish it did something before you use it, but it does nothing. In half the cases, you won't be able to get a good use out of this, but... I mean, the other half of the time, it will literally save your run. If you have Aegis, this is incredible. If you have, like, extra HP, power, or something like that. If you have, for instance, a Rejuvenation Rack, it's really good. Blah, 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 blah. Consumed on use, and it annoys me that it has the empty flux you can't get rid of. But yeah, picking up a few of these every run is alright. Just to, you know, back pocket healing in case something goes wrong. Will not save you from Malachite enemies, of course. Also, if you get eaten by a Void Reaver and you have an extra life, it will consume all of these that you have. Yeah, it's a bad interaction. I wish they'd fix that. Oddly Shaped Opal? It's C tier. It only works on one hit, but sometimes that one hit is all that matters. This can save you from a lot of fall damage. Let's say you have 3 of these, you'll take, like... I don't know, maybe 1/10 of your health from falling at the maximum height or something like that. Which can be very useful, especially if you're running Artifact of Frailty, or, you know, you have that effect on from playing on Eclipse. Pretty useful. Very helpful if Mithrix hits you with his hammer, because that does a lot of damage, and will put you in one-shot territory from whatever comes next. With this, it won't. It's also very good with Engineer Turrets, you know, things that can't move and get killed in one hit by, like, a brass contraption or something like that. So yeah. Pretty decent item. The only issue is it's one of those, you know, has to wait like 3 seconds before it works again thing. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain in that regard, but it's fine. Shipping Form. This is actually A tier. This works pretty much like the old rusted key, which, oddly enough, this tier list uses the image of the old rusted key. You can see that on screen, right? I don't know, I've got this window cropped very weirdly. But yeah, what it actually does is it grants one of those things that flies down. It's very easy to see on the map, unlike rusted key, and it gives you either it gives you two items, one of which you can see, and the other one is a question mark, like from Tri-Shop Terminal. But these two items can be different rarities. You can get, like, a red question mark item, which is very tempting when you see it, and you get one per stage in pretty much every stage, except Bazaar Between Time. I'm pretty sure that's the only stage where it does not spawn on. Like, this thing spawns in void fields. This thing spawns against the alternate final boss. This thing spawns in, like, Aurelianite's little area. Like, the more little distractions you go to in your adventure, the more items you get. This is especially good with Executive Card, which lets you take both. So, yeah, I'd recommend picking up this, like, as soon as you see it, just to get at least one item per stage, with no downside, which is kind of what you did with the old Rusted Key anyway. Only issue is it's a green. But, hey, greens aren't actually particularly good in this game, with the exception of, actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that. Only about half the greens in this game are actually useful. Like, no use found for, Berserker's Pauldron. Yes, I will have 10 wax quails. Phrases deemed up by the, mentally deranged. This is like Hunter's Harpoon or something. This is F tier. This is absolute garbage. This is the worst, green item in the game, in my opinion. And I run Squid Turret. So yeah, after you kill an enemy, this grants you a 100% boost in speed for 1 second. And for every stack, you get an extra half second. That is utterly trash, considering that most characters cannot attack while sprinting. Meaning that if you want to get the best use out of this, you're going to have to hit something and then very quickly hit the shift button to actually gain, like, double sprint speed for that 1 second, which is... It's nothing. It's trash. Why would you ever pick up this item? The answer is you wouldn't. Like, the one thing this is useful for, maybe, is if you're using Engineer's mobile turrets. But don't do that, because that's a stupid idea. No, I'm not gonna do... No, chat, I'm not gonna do a gimmick run with this. Shuriken. I hate Shuriken. It's not the worst item in the game, but I just hate it. So, it does have good upsides, though. You can proc bands with it. That's pretty much it. The big downside with this item is the fact that it has, like, no range. It curves off to the sides far too frequently to actually hit anything reliably. Plus, if you are running Railgunner, then you'd already know why this item is bad. Like, you charge up your Super Shot, you've got your Chiaro and Runald's bands active, ready to go, you fire, and the Shuriken comes out first because you have to wait half a second in order for the shot to actually fire, and you waste your band proc on the Shuriken, and your big shot doesn't get its band procs. This thing ruins you. It is actively detrimental on Railgunner. The thing is, you still have to pick these up anyway because they're green items. Hope you get a scrapper soon. There's so much wrong with this item, but it is good on some characters like, I don't know, Commando. Commando can use everything, though. Regenerating scrap. This item is actually completely busted, and I expect this item to actually get nerfed. So, what makes this item so good? It is, in essence, a free green item every stage. That's nothing new, considering you get free items every stage from shipping request. The difference is you can stack these, and you'll get a free green item every stage for each one of them. It's basically you sacrifice your current build for a future better build. The thing is, these refresh every stage. Emphasis on every stage. So let's say, for instance, you have 2 of these, right? And you're on stage 3, you're on the snowy stage. And you find, I don't know, a scythe printer. You print off 2 scythes, and you're like, okay, that's pretty good. Then you hit a newt altar, and say, you know what, I actually don't need these scythes. And you get rid of 2 of them, you know, the 2 you just printed off, for some scrap, some normal scrap. And you hit a newt altar, go to the Bazaar Between Time, and these regenerate. These regenerative scraps come back. So you then have 4 scrap, and you throw those into the soup pot. You know, it's 5 green items for a red item. You just got rid of the 2 normal green scrap and like 1 other random green item, and the 2 regenerative green scrap because they come back, and you get a red item. And by the next stage, your regenerative scrap has come back. And so you find another green printer maybe, you get rid of these 2, get 2 more green items. If there is another scrapper, then hey, that's really good news. You can scrap whatever you get, hit another nude altar, and bada bing bada boom, these are regenerated, and you can get another red item very easily. So a lot of people say that lunar coins do not actually make your run a whole lot better. With this, they do. Your whole entire run's power is based off how many nude altars you can hit with regenerative scrap. This item is fucking busted, and I cannot believe that this actually got into the game. Like, I could make a video or something covering exactly how broken this is if you can just get a few of these early on. And I may do that in the future, but seriously, try this item out for yourself. You will be pleasantly surprised at how overpowered this is. Like, seriously. Sure, it can whiff. You can get some bad red items from the soup pots, but at that case, it doesn't matter because, I mean, it's still a red item. There is no actively bad red item, sans maybe bottle chaos. But yeah, crazy good. Use it as much as you can. Ignition tank. It doesn't do a whole lot. It's B tier, but at what it does, it is the best. Just do not use it with Hellfire Tincture, otherwise you will kill yourself, almost guaranteedly. It doubles the power of all fire, and makes it last twice as long. Ugh. So, that works on Gasoline, that works on Molten Perforator, it works on Ifrit's Distinction, it works on the new Molotov item, and it works on Artificer's abilities that light on fire. I think there was something else as well. I mean, Hellfire Tincture, but I already covered that. Where is that? There. Right here. I'm sure there was something else, but it's just not coming to me right now. So yeah, it's B tier. It's average. If you have a lot of gasoline, definitely take it. It is actually really good. But on its own, it does nothing. It literally just needs synergy. Otherwise, it does nothing. Laser scope. Double all your critical damage. It's, actually, it depends on how long it is in the run. Early run, it's just B. Later in the run, it's A, because, I mean, it's straight up double damage. Like, there is no downside to it. It's unconditional double damage later on in the run. So, you know what? Yeah, I'll place it in A. Usually, you get a red item around stage 3 or so, maybe 2 if you're lucky. But at stage 4, you can get a guaranteed red item, and maybe it's this. Or maybe you get one earlier because you're running regenerative scrap. Why did this get into the game? But yeah, really good item. Next up, we have spare drone parts. I'm kind of on the fence as to where to put this. I mean, on its own, it is a Colonel Drone Man, which is pretty damn powerful. It has great synergy with drones. The problem is with, you know, this is entirely a problem with me. You can place this a lot higher, but I just don't pick drones. I do not like dealing with drones in general, so I don't go out of my way to pick them up. Healing drones? No thanks. Gunner drones? I don't care. Strike drones? I'm not going to pick up that item. So yeah, it's a B for me. This is... I understand this is an entirely subjective take. You can just disagree with this as much as you want, and honestly, that's very fine. I will literally not disagree if you want to put this higher, because I know this is just a problem with me. Don't listen to me for this one. Ben's Raincoat. Ben's Raincoat is A. It's not S, because a lot of enemies just don't debuff you. But it does work on a lot. It works on the tiniest burn to the largest collapse. Like, sure, a lot of enemies use Collapse. I heavily expect Collapse to be nerfed very soon, because it just does too much damage. I did a run today and got hit with a Blind Pest on, like, stage... Had I looped? Yeah, I was on a loop, and I looped, and I was on Sulfur Pools, and I got hit with a Blind Pest and got collapsed for 1,100 damage, which was almost all of my health. Well, it was all of my health in that case, but still. Just negating Collapse is good enough. This negates the fire damage you take from Hellfire Tincture, which can be bad or can be good, depending on if you have Razor Wire. And, yeah, it gets rid of a whole bunch of bad stuff. Effigy of Grief has no downside if you're using this. It's nice. It also grants 100 HP, and HP is an underrated stat. It's good. I wouldn't say it's like game-winning in terms of red items. Pocket ICBM is also an A tier. This is just a very good item, works with fireworks as we saw from my last video. It works with ATGs, it works with Plasma Shrimp, which is an incredibly good item, which we'll get into soon. So, yep, there is just nothing wrong with this item. It also increases the damage of missile items by 50%. It works with Engineer's Thermal Harpoons. This is Thermal Harpoon Synergy. Engineer's Thermal Harpoons already did a lot of damage, now they're even more broken. So, yep, good item. El Scorpione, as we call it. This is an S tier item. This is crazy good. -2 armor for every hit is bonkers. Especially on, of course, like, faster firing units. Sure, on Loader you may say, well, this is just worse than Shattering Justice. And my rebuttal of that is, since when were you actually proccing Shattering Justice with Loader? The answer is never. This is actually better than Shattering Justice in pretty much every single way. Sure, Shattering Justice builds up armor reduction quickly, so against non-bosses, this is most likely going to be better. Like, if you just want to kill a brass contraption, then Shattering Justice is better. But against everything else, this is crazily a whole lot better. Mithrix, the new Void boss, I forget its name because I've only fought it like twice. It hasn't actually killed me once somehow. Yep, Scorpion, really good. That debuff stays forever, so fantastic. Just scavengers with Ben's Raincoat will destroy you. Bottled Chaos, D. Bottled Chaos, I could put this easily in F, but it's not that bad because it has most of the upsides. The biggest downside of this item is rolling Volcanic Egg and getting yourself completely screwed over because you're not prepared to deal with immediately turning into a high-velocity Volcanic Egg fireball thing and getting displaced because they still haven't fixed the stupid visual effect on it, which they said they would. Yeah, Hoppu devs, get on that. But yeah, you can get some pretty good stuff. Prion accumulators for free. You'll have to go by sound to properly aim that. You can get, like, I don't know, radar scanner. Basically, you just want nulled wood sprite and then to spam this thing. And sure, there are some use items that you can whiff, but it's overall not bad. Well, it is still a red item, though. Lightfox Pauldron. Actually, no, I need to cover this one first. This is... I don't even know what this item is called. It drops from the stupid sea constructs, and it summons little, I don't know, dick peas that shoot things and take up space. Not really useful. I can't actually, for the life of me, put this any higher than a C. I don't even care how much damage it does. The biggest downside with this thing is that you kill a void-touched enemy, and this spawns on top of it, because it is a elite, technically. And then it drops the Swarmer, and the Swarmer corrupts this thing, and then you have to kill it yourself, which is very annoying. Don't deal with it. Like, the best thing I can say about this item is the fact that you can use Trophy Hunter's Tricorn to kill Sea Construct. That's about it. And then maybe try and scrap this for a Planula or something. Lightfox Pauldron, let's not skip ahead and do this beforehand. So what this item does, in case you've never picked it up before, which is fine, is it... I believe it halves your attack speed, but halves your cooldown times as well. So, this is... I mean, people have compared it to Purity before, but Purity only takes 2 seconds off, and this cannot remove the hard cap of half a second as minimum. This takes like 20 seconds off Diablo Strike. It is very good on Artificer. This is entirely character dependent. Like on Mercenary you wouldn't pick this. On Commando you wouldn't pick this. On Acrid you might, because nobody uses Acrid's actual attack speed. On Loader, maybe. Probably not, because Loader kind of needs attack speed, but not really. It's a C tier. It's kind of a lunar item, though. You know how lunar items are. They're either really good or really bad. This is kind of in between. It has its uses for certain survivors, though. Stoneflux Pauldron. I like this one. A tier lunar item. It's no Gesture of the Drowned, but it does double your health. And currently, all the best healing in the game is percentage-based. And the percentage base is, of course, your max HP. So, like, you have 500 health, you take one of these. Medkit will then heal, like, 20% of 1,000. So, it'll heal you 200 and then a bit extra. Actually, how did it work again? No, it was like 5% of your... I forget how medkit works. It doesn't matter. Point being, this is very good. Downside, of course, is that it halves your speed. And speed is war, basically. You do not want to take this with Loader, who is completely reliant on speed for damage. You can take this on Engineer, and it's really good. And if you have a bunch of Wax Quails, oddly enough, because Wax Quail's movement is not based on your movement speed, it is just preset. So you can have, like, no speed, stack up a bunch of Wax Quails, or Volcanic Egg, because that is also not dependent on your speed and how fast it goes. And just use a whole bunch of these, become invincible, use Multi with his, like, double gunner for his extra armor, and just completely shred through everything, not worrying about health. Run like Corpse Bloom or something if you must, just because you have a whole bunch of max HP. Egocentrism. This is a painful item. I can't say it's bad though, because it does do a lot of damage. It just eats your entire build. Once again, it's dependent on the character you're using. If you're a character that needs a whole bunch of items like Commando, then do not take this. If you're a character who needs, like, procs on big hits, like, you know, Captain, do not pick this. If you're a character like Acrid who just has high bases, pick this. It's another character-dependent thing. Eating your entire build is very annoying though, so yeah, be careful. Eulogy 0, 5% chance to turn anything into a lunar item. This is F. It just does nothing. And usually, you want actual items instead of lunar items. It doesn't matter how many Stone Flux Pauldrons you get. It's not going to actually help you win. In case you haven't noticed with the lunar items, none of them actually help you win the game. Actually, none of them make you more powerful, except Shaped Glass, which doubles your damage. So, I mean, do you want like 1,000,000 Shaped Glasses? Not likely, but possible. No. No, you don't. You don't want to open up a gold chest and obtain like a... I don't know, a Corpse Bloom from it. Also, as stated before, most of the lunar items just aren't good with all survivors. So you just get, like... Yeah, you're playing Commando, you get an item and it's one of these. Literally useless, and you can't scrap lunar items, so you just have to ignore it. So unless you feel like you want to gamble your life away for getting a lunar cleansing pool, just don't pick this item up. Trophy Hunters try Coyne S tier. This does one thing. It kills a boss and it gives you a trophy item that is based on what it is. The thing is, the ability to guarantee trophy items and just skip bosses is very good. You can use this to kill Aurelia Knight as well, because he's a boss and he drops a boss item. This, mostly for me, guarantees you get a Planula. And Planula is an incredibly good item. You can use it early on, in fact, if you want to get a... Where is it? Shatter Spleen, Titanic Knurl. Like, even getting a Myred Urn is good enough. Hell, you're playing Engineer, you can get a Genesis Loop Stage 1 if you're lucky. Well, lucky enough to get this item. But yeah, it's a really good item. It deserves S tier. Also, Ahoy! Gubo Jr. Unfortunately is a D tier item because Gubo Jr. does not gain any items you have. Gubo Jr.'s AI is a fail most of the time. Like, Gubo Jr. can be corrupted by the Void Infestors, in which case you will die. Like, Gubo Jr. has aim hacks, but Gubo Jr. is not smart. Like, he only needs to hit you once, though, and you're dead. So, sorry Gubo Jr. Also, he has a bit of a long cooldown. 6-pack of Molotovs. C tier. You can use it with this. Otherwise, it's not particularly good. Downside is there are a whole bunch of enemies in this game that just are flying, that you can't hit. You can't use this on Clay Doomstride or anything like that. I should skip this track in the music. Spoilers, I'm listening to this music live because I can't be bothered to edit stuff in post. This is the Executive card. Executive card is almost S tier, but I'm putting it in A. Also, these are not organized in any particular order. So, Executive card gives you 10% cash back on anything you buy, and if you are buying from a multi-shop terminal, the other ones stay active. There's currently a bug where if you buy stuff from a multi-shop terminal too fast, then the third one will close. But that's a bug, so just buy a little less quickly than just mashing through and buying everything. So it does nothing in combat, but it, much like a Coyne TM, allows you to scale faster. And scaling faster is the way that you win this game. It's not about beating the stages quickly, it's beating the stages and getting the items as quickly as possible. That's why people don't play Engineer, except for me, because he's slow, and it requires careful planning and routing in order to find where all the items are. That's why a lot of people play Loader. So yeah, grab this item, you'll get a lot more powerful, faster, and you'll just have a generally better run. Right, Caffeinator, newest item, technically, because it was bugged. It's B. It does grant you a lot of healing very quickly, and it procs Fireworks and Squid Polyp. Yes, it's me talking about Squid Polyp. Ooh, we can finally shut up about that now, maybe. No, we won't. Also, sorry about scrolling. I don't quite know where my focus is. It's an average item, though. It is a bit slow, it has 1 minute of cooldown, but it's fine for what it is. It can help you if you have no healing. The only problem is that it costs stuff. Maybe if you have Executive Card you can buy it a bit more, but no. It does give you a reason to buy Fireworks though, and keep them in your inventory. This is the aspect of healing. I've never actually got this, so I can't really rate it highly. I predict it's not actually useful, unless you're playing Engineer, or if you have, like, allies and drones. But since when do you actually pick up allies? No, that's me. That's a me thing, because I don't pick up drones. Maybe you could have a better use for this than I can. Alright. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Void items. Safer Spaces blocks 1 hit and recharges over time, depending on how many you have. This is B tier. It is not any higher because against, or at least compared to Tougher Times overall will block more damage than this does. But this can block, like, it can guaranteed block anything. Where this shines is if you're attaching and picking up Void Cradles, this is guaranteed to block that if you have it up. It can guaranteed block Shrine of Pain, in case you want to get money really quickly. That's very good. It means you don't have to wait around. And of course, if you're just getting hit with one big hit, like and you know you've got the block up, say you're fighting Wandering Vagrant, you don't even have to hide. It gives you more time to do damage. So yeah, it's pretty good. The only problem is you have to give up Tougher Times in order to do it, and Tougher Times is actually a pretty damn good item. Needle Tick. 10% chance to collapse on hit, dealing 400% base damage. I believe this cannot proc the bands, which is odd, but it's fine. I'm actually going to put this in B as well. Now, here's something that is to be taken into consideration. By default, against stronger enemies, this is worse than stacking up a whole bunch of daggers. The thing is, late game, you can only stack 1 point of bleed, or 1 proc of bleed per hit. This is important because if you have Shatter Spleen and 10 daggers, meaning guaranteed hits on everything that has a proc coefficient of 1, you're still only getting 1 bleed. So in that case, you're better off having Needle Ticks because you'll get the 1 bleed and you'll get the 1 stack of collapse. So take that into account if you're doing long runs or if you just have a Shatter Spleen and a whole bunch of crit. In that case, Needle Tick is solely better, and Tri-Tip Dagger is garbage. Deep Seer's Glasses, I believe that's what these are called. I don't like these. These actively are detrimental if you're fighting bosses. These do nothing against bosses and have a chance to insta-kill everything else, but the chance to insta-kill is so low. It's just really annoying. If you're running any heavy-hitting character, i.e. Loader, Railgunner, I don't know, Captain if you're running Diablo Strike, although Captain has the good base shotgun, this is absolute garbage. Like, on Railgunner and those and such, you're much much better off running Lens Maker's Glasses, just because, sure, it is very good if you're going to kill, like, very high health enemies that just naturally spawn, but usually enemies that just naturally spawn aren't that tough. You could make a point that APR is the exact opposite of this, in which case you just stack up both of these and have a good time. But here's a better thought. Don't. Wungus. Yes, some people call it rungus, I call it wungus, because, I mean, it's bungus, but it's weeping and not bustling, so it's W, wungus. I'd say this is actually an A tier item. Most characters need to sprint to move around, and, I mean, nobody states that you need to be sprinting around and actually going anywhere when you're using this. Like, you can just run around in a circle to get healing, and it's much more useful to have healing on the go, because obviously you're going to spend most of your time running, unless you're fighting, in which case Bustling Fungus doesn't work anyway. You don't want to be standing still, getting hit with that dull stall laser from, what's like, Stone Titan. So yeah, Wungus, pretty damn good. I'd run it over Bustling Fungus on, like, every character except for Engineer. And I'm an Engineer main, for reference. So yeah, no bias here. Crusty Key. So, people may be confused by what this actually does. It replaces the rusted key, and also, this is a bit of an outdated thing, but yeah, old icon. And it gives you 3 items, potentially. It gives you one of those Collapse Void potentials. And it's a, it's like a 10% chance for a red, 30% chance for a green, 60% chance for a common. Meaning that you can just get this item from it, and this is another consumed on hit. Best use for this is trying to get, I don't know, just something better. Considering that these are the commons. Is this the last common? Yes, it is. Usually you're going to get a B tier or A tier item. Or this, I swear there's more common items. No? Alright. But yeah, it's okay. The only problem is that I personally like a Rusted Key better. Like, even though they changed it and you can no longer get guaranteed reds, it's usually a whole lot better than this. This does give you freedom in what you take, though. 1 in 3. Polyute. Polyute, whatever it is. This is B tier. I'd put this higher, but it takes up Ukulele, and Ukulele is just an amazing item. Chance to hit an enemy 3 times with lightning for total damage. It's fine. It's basically just an extra damage thing on one target. It's just generally a rather unremarkable item, but it's good, but it's not. It doesn't do anything particularly interesting. I just can't say anything about it. Singularity Band. I'm putting this in C because it's worse than the other bands. So it does less damage. It does 100% of the total damage you dealt when you procced it on the, like, explosion after you draw in stuff. And it hits a lot more enemies because of the drawing in things. But it also only procs half as frequently because it's got a 20-second cooldown. That's bad. Like, Kyaro's band, the red one, aka a new good band, does triple that damage. And since it can proc twice as often, that's like 6 times the damage. Why? Why does this have 20 seconds of cooldown time? Sure, you can run Blast Shower and get rid of that, but here's a better thought, don't. Like, never take this item if you have any bans. In fact, never take this item in general. You know what, D tier, because it's just worse than the other bands. Fuck you, Singularity Band. Lysate Cell. Gives you an extra charge of your 4th ability, and corrupts all fuel cells. This is B tier. Yeah, it's not bad. It is, of course, another survivor-dependent character. On Captain, it's God tier, because you get extra uses of his beacons. It's crazy good for him. But for other characters, some characters don't care. Engineer gets an extra turret, so that's fine. But, yeah, unless you have, like, You know, actually, I really can't think of a reason not to put it in A. Good point, me. Lysate Fuel Cell is all good in my book. Of course, it gets rid of your fuel cell, so you'll have to be less reliant on equipment, but there's plenty of good equipment that don't need to be spammed. Gesture of the Drown is good enough anyway. Void Touch Flame. It's reverse Will-o'-the-Wisp. Except it does a little less damage and has a little less range. You know what? It's B tier. About the same as Will-o'-the-Wisp, it's just reverse. All I can say is, yeah, reverse Will-o'-the-Wisp. There is nothing to say about this item. It's exactly what it says on the tin. Plasma Shrimp, S tier. I think there's a bug in this game, don't quote me on that, where you can loop damage infinitely with this. Basically, don't quote me on this. Literally, do not quote me on this. But I think there's a bug with this and Sticky Bomb currently where they can proc each other infinitely. However, since I actually haven't been able to recreate this glitch, so, that was just something that happened in one of my runs where I had Plasma Shrimp and enough Sticky Bombs to constantly proc, and it just killed everything repeatedly. It may have been this, or it may have been a thing with Brilliant Behemoth. I don't know. I'll need to check into that. I'm trying to recreate it as we speak. Tenderball. Wait, I haven't even discussed what the hell this thing does. It shoots missiles on hit because, if you have shield. So if you have Transcendence, this always works. The missiles are pretty weak at 40% total damage, but they are very consistent, so it's just extra damage, and they never miss, unlike ATGs, which have the tendency of getting smacked into walls and just blowing up and completely missing. These go through walls. Very good. Tenderbauble is A tier. Tenderbauble is actually pretty weak unless you stack it. It is it's like a 1% chance to you know what, actually I've got the game open in my other tab. Let me take a look at exactly what this does. Okay, yeah, it's 5%, plus 5% per stack to root enemies for 1 second, and then plus 1 second per stack. Meaning that, at base, 5% chance to root an enemy for 1 second. Root is a very powerful stats effect, by the way. So if you have 3, for instance, 15% chance to root an enemy for 3 seconds. That is very good. You get 25% chance to basically make sure that an enemy never moves again. It's crazy good if you stack it. Not particularly great if you don't. And root works on pretty much everything. I cannot actually, on top of my head, think of an enemy that is immune to root. It works on Mithrix, as you've seen before. It works on the other boss. You know the one I'm talking about. The only problem is that it's, of course, a green void item, so it's a bit hard to stack. Chrono Baubles you're most likely not going to be picking up beforehand. So, yep. Benthic Bloom. Where am I going to put this? It's the most controversial item in the game. I'm putting it in D tier. Okay, so the problem with Benthic Bloom is that there's just a chance that it just eats your build completely. So what it does is it takes 3 random items and upgrades them, and it upgrades everything in the stack, meaning that you can get unlucky and have all of your Lensmaker's glasses get turned into squid polyps, or you can have all of your ATG missiles turned into head stompers. Now, overall, in the long run, it's going to eventually upgrade something into 56 or 57 leaf clovers. And what that does is it just gives you more Benthic Blooms, because corrupts this, and then it will start the slow roll process of quickly making more of itself and eating your entire inventory very quickly. Eventually, whenever you get any common item, it's just gonna straight up turn into a red. And, spoiler alert, if you just have all reds, you're not actually that strong because you have no base items. You have no movement speed. You have, like, no proc power. Yeah, sure, you kill everything in a great range if you can manage to actually deal the damage. But you most likely can't because, okay, let's go through every red item real quick. So, Scorpion, enemies won't have armor. Double crit rate, or double crit damage, but you have no crit rate. You're immune to debuffs and you have a bit more health. Extra missiles, but you have no missiles. Unless you've somehow snagged a Plasma Shrimp, which cannot be corrupted. Your drones have stuff. Doesn't matter. Laughable. Big range, daggers on kill, frost on kill, revival on kill, head stompers effect, Nakahana's opinion. Like, unless you have some base healing capability to Nakahana's opinion, rejuvenation, rack heal yourself to full, yeah, you're probably not going to actually kill anything. You're going to die a lot. And sure, you can use equipment a lot if you get some kills. but it's very unreliable. Red items just don't let you win the game. They are, at best, enhancements for the rest of your build. But without commons, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to be able to move fast, can't do shit. Benthic Bloom just eats your entire run. And, quite frankly, you're better off just getting 57 leaf clovers. There's a reason why this is considered one of the best items in the game. It is. I don't even know the name of something. It's something lava, and I'm not going to bother to check. It's a Dio's best friend that corrupts all your items when you're revived. It's a Dio's best friend. That's about it. I mean, sure. Corrupting all of your very good items into this stuff, like, sure, these three are bad. You're most likely going to have a lot of Lensmaker's glasses, some bands, maybe even a 57 leaf clover. But, I mean, it's an extra life. The hell are you complaining about? You pick this up because it's an extra life. Like, if you don't pick this up, you're just gonna die. What are the odds you already have a Dio's best friend? Very little. Just take it. There's no downside to taking it. It's an extra life. You die, you come back to life. It can save you. Take it. And the last item, what is the name of this item? I don't remember, I've only picked this up, like, once in a Simulacrum run. Newly hatched Zoea. Ooh, wonderful little item. Yeah. So this spawns void allies to you every minute, and minus 50% time for each one, or each stack of this. And it corrupts all boss items, which is one of the reasons why it's not going any higher than C. The other reason being is that the three enemies that it can spawn for you to be allies are Void Reaver, Void Jailer, and Void Devastator. All three enemies that explode into void explosions on death, which can kill you because friendly fire is enabled for those. Meaning that you can potentially use your run, or lose your run if you're not careful and these die around you. So yeah, be careful when using this thing, otherwise you will die. And also, as stated before, it corrupts all boss items. And, I mean, I would not want to get rid of my planulas, my, charge perforators, or my pearls, because these are boss items. This is also another really good item. This one too. Genesis Loop. There's just a whole bunch of great boss items, and why would you get rid of them for void allies, which actually don't, you know, increase your direct power? Sure, having an ally just detonate on Mithrix and killing him instantly is pretty funny, but it's not really practical, sadly. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts. If you have thoughts and disagree with me on anything other than regenerative scrap, write in the comments. And, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video I make, whatever it is. Bye-bye. Also, the soundtrack is the Rayman 3 OST. I just had that on in the background for no reason. Deal with it.